In der heutigen Show locken wir euch an einen berüchtigten Ort namens Crystal Lake. Dort angekommen schleifen wir euch hinter die Kulissen des Remakes des legendären Slasher-Films Freitag der 13.
Oh mein Gott!
Wir begleiten Regisseur Marcus Nispel und seine verdammt gut aussehende, aber vor Angst schlotternde Schauspielercrew dabei, wie sie sich dem Urvater aller Macheten schwingenden Psychopathen stellen müssen, dem unheimlichen Jason Voorhees. Sehnt ihr euch nach ein paar heißen Bikini-Schönheiten, einer Reihe von erstaunlich innovativen Morden und einem größeren, stärkeren und gefährlicheren Jason? Dann wurden eure Wünsche erhört, denn genau das erwartet euch in der actiongeladenen Neuauflage des kultigen Horrorfilms Freitag der 13. In der kommenden halben Stunde zeigen wir euch, warum Darsteller Jared Padalecki am Anfang so seine Zweifel hatte.
I was sort of like, didn't they already make that? Didn't they already make a bunch of them?
Wie Marcus Nispels Neuauflage bei den Hardcore-Fans ankam.
When the trailer came out, clearly we have a swifter, quicker Jason here. Right away people would say, hey, he's running, Jason don't run. Fail.
Und Derek Mears enthüllt einen neuen, noch grausameren Jason.
With this, they get back to the basic of what makes Jason scary. He's a normal guy. He's not a slow-moving super zombie. He's not unkillable.
Nachdem er mit seiner Neuverfilmung des Kult-Horrorstreifens Texas Chainsaw Massacre große Erfolge gefeiert hatte, wollte sich Marcus Nispel als nächstes den Slasher Freitag der 13. vornehmen. Aber er wusste, dass es nicht einfach werden würde, einem der kultigsten und grausamsten Killer der Filmgeschichte gerecht zu werden.
The most important thing, of course, to get right is not to offend the fans. It's not the first time this has been done, you know, so you want to do right by them. But on the other hand, you also want to take it a step further, you know, and put your own fingerprints on it.
Turn around. And then you can actually push in again, maybe.
I've always been drawn to reality-oriented bad guys.
Help! Help me!
To me, the neighbor's revving his chainsaw or sharpening his machete in the garden, right, or in his garage is more scary than, you know, a ghoul, you know, or a special effect for that matter.
Look. Nice one.
It's funny, when the trailer came out, you know, clearly we have a swifter, quicker Jason here than the one in the past. You know, right away people would say, hey, he's running, Jason don't run. Fail. You know, and you go like, just wait, give me a chance, you know, have a look at it and really think. We like to believe these were things that Jason was always capable of, but he's just never shown that aspect, so.
Please, open up!
Es war offensichtlich, dass der Schauspieler, der einen so grauenhaften Psychopathen wie Jason darstellen sollte, eine monströse Aufgabe zu bewältigen hatte.
Ironically, when you go into the casting, you think get the biggest guy out there. You go for a hockey player, football players, whatnot. And then you see them interviewing and you realize, you know, what you really need, how much more you need. Because really it is kabuki. And the face is covered by a mask, so it has to be much more physical, but it also can't be a joke, you know. How much can you cock his head, you know? How can you light him? It becomes actually the most important thing to generate each scene.
Grab! Twist!
When Derek came through the doors, it became very apparent very quickly that he's not just the perfect Jason, but he's a perfect fanboy. He watches those movies.
Yes, I get to be Jason. Unbelievable.
He could wear the outfit. There's one thing, trying to act that. The other thing is really wearing it, you know, and he did very subtle things where I went like, you know, he really gets this.
Doesn't matter how it feels, it matters how it looks.
When I first was approached, I tried to keep the inner child at bay inside me. Being that first and foremost, I'm a fan of the series, and growing up, Jason is my single most favorite horror icon, and he's the one that gave me nightmares growing up. And now it's such a weird full circle that it's my job to give a whole new generation the same nightmares that I had as a child.
Marcus Nispels nächste Aufgabe bestand darin, eine Gruppe junger und unverbrauchter Schauspieler zusammenzustellen, die als Jasons Opfer agieren sollten. Und das taten sie sehr gerne.
I was really excited to see that they were going to remake some of the originals. It wasn't just an addition to what has happened in the later series of Friday the 13th. It was a throwback to, you know, an old story with a new twist.
We gotta get out of here. Come on, you guys. Oh my God.
I was excited to be a part of the reinventing of Jason and the whole Friday the 13th franchise. It's got such a great following with fans who are so passionate about Jason that it was really an honor to be included.
Hey, I'm not from around here, but I'm looking for my sister. She's gone missing. When I found out about Friday the 13th, that it was being remade, I was sort of like, didn't they already make that? Didn't they already make a bunch of them? And so then I talked to my manager, and he was explaining that it was the company that had remade Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I was actually a big fan of. And then I found out it was the same director, same cinematographer, and same producers remaking a movie that I was already a fan of. And I was like, you know, I'd love to take a meeting on this. I'd love to try and get involved. And I think the reason I was really excited to make this was that they wanted to make it real and scary and gritty and kind of raw and sexy, you know, not sort of like, here's a crazy death, like everybody kind of be goofy, but fun, like you want to have a good time and laugh, but ultimately it's there to scare you, not to kind of be a cheesy, campy horror film.
Damit der Film so richtig gruselig und unheimlich rüberkommt, war es wichtig, Jason einen menschlicheren, fast bemitleidenswerten Touch zu geben.
With this, they get back to the basics of what makes Jason scary. The basics of that he's a normal guy. He's not a slow-moving super zombie. He's not unkillable. In this one, they make him more of a character than before. He's more like a presence. So you find out, you see the different emotions happening behind the mask. You see Jason thinking. You see what he does in between the kills. So their purpose for this is, which I believe they've accomplished, is to make Jason frightening again and getting back to what made it work from before. Jason is a victim, being disformed and rejected from society. He saw his mother get killed in front of him when he was 9 or 10 years old. And he's in the forest now, he's a hunter, he just wants to be left alone, and society keeps coming and infringing upon his area, and he's forced to fight back. So it's a fine line you have to walk between making the character sympathetic and also making him terrifying, because if you make it too sympathetic, you're going to lose the fear from him.
In diesem Film gelingt es Jason jedoch nicht, alle seine Opfer mit Furcht zu lähmen. Hat er etwa in Jareds heldenhafter Figur Clay endgültig seinen Meister gefunden?
Obviously, he's scared of this guy. The guy's got a weapon, the guy's huge, he's wearing a mask. I mean, he's been seen with dead bodies, and he killed a bunch of others. So Clay just kind of stands his ground. I think he's a hero because he tries to do the right thing. And he's not like a ninja. Like, it's not like, all right, well, here, I'm a black belt, so let me fight you. He's just sort of an animal fighting to protect his family. And it's nice because when you fight Jason, I mean, you're fighting Jason and you're not going to get the best of him, you know? When I got the role, I found out that I was going to have some encounters with Jason. And I was like, all right, well, I better like drink my protein shakes and eat my chicken breasts and stuff like that. And so I really hit the weights really hard. And I figured as an audience member, the last thing I would want to see is some like 100-pound skinny dude fighting Jason. So I decided to try and man up a little bit.
Und das hier erwartet euch gleich im zweiten Teil der Show. Danielle Panabaker berichtet uns von einem ganz normalen Arbeitstag am Filmset.
It's always funny to see, you know, our friend Arlen walking around with a machete or an axe through his chest.
Marcus Nispel plaudert aus dem Horrornähkästchen.
To scare the hell out of people, it's more about what you don't do than what you do.
Und Derek Mears jammert über die Arbeitsbedingungen.
What's the adage they say? It's pain is temporary, film is forever.
Weiter geht's mit MTV Making the Movie Freitag der 13. Gleich berichtet uns Danielle Panabaker von einem normalen Tag am Set.
It's always funny to see, you know, our friend Arlen walking around with a machete or an axe through his chest.
Marcus Nispel plaudert aus dem Horrornähkästchen.
To scare the hell out of people, it's more about what you don't do than what you do.
Und Derek Mears jammert über die Arbeitsbedingungen.
What's the adage they say? It's pain is temporary, film is forever.
Um sich von ihrem stressigen Alltag in der Großstadt zu erholen, lässt sich Whitney von ein paar Freunden zu einem Campingwochenende in Crystal Lake überreden.
My boyfriend drags me on this camping trip, and I'm sort of uncomfortable and not really wanting to be here, but, you know, I'm kind of going along with it.
Whitney, you've got to see this.
Mike, come on.
No, I'm serious. You've got to see this. Somebody's been here. There's something in there. Looks like some kind of a doll.
Are you crazy?
And all hell breaks loose.
My sister goes on a camping trip with some friends and never comes back. None of them ever come back. And I sort of, missing persons report and whatnot. And ultimately, people stop looking, and so I sort of take matters into my own hands and go to try and find it myself.
I wanted to ask you if maybe you've seen somebody. My sister, she's gone missing.
She ain't missing. She's dead.
What?
Clay comes to the house that Jenna is staying at for the weekend, and when he shows up, he's looking for his sister, and Jenna's empathetic toward him.
Hey, I'm not from around here, but I'm looking for my sister. She's gone missing.
Clay and Jenna sort of hit it off right away, and she's obviously sympathetic to his plight and decides to go along and help him. Well, Clay and Jenna, when they're looking for Clay's sister Whitney, it starts to get dark, and basically they've sort of encountered creepy things along the walk, and for the last few hours they've been looking, and they're already kind of spooked out because they're looking for a missing person in the middle of the woods, and then they see somebody coming and carrying a burlap sack over his shoulder, and they're like, that's kind of strange, and it's dark, and we've kind of been spooked out over and over again. Like, let's hide for a second.
They end up finding Jason and really upsetting him. So he chases them back to the house and one by one proceeds to take off all of Jenna's friends.
Help me!
Lawrence.
No, you can't go out there.
We have to help him.
No, we can't, okay? He's using your friend as bait.
Where are the police?
The gist of the Jason character is, as a child, when he was 10 years old, he saw his mother get murdered in front of him by a camp counselor. Jason is a deformed individual, and he's always been rejected by society. So when this happened, his mother was his only lifeline to the real world, the only person that really loved him. So he kind of banished himself into this forest, and he survives there as a hunter. And he just wants to be left alone. What happens is a bunch of kids come in into his area of the forest.
Oh, yeah, baby.
And they're into, the parable of sins of the drugs and the alcohol and the sex. And they get too far, and Jason feels trapped, and he is forced to take out his vengeance on them.
We gotta get out of here. Come on, you guys.
Und die Art und Weise, wie Jason an ihm seine Rache verübt, soll den Film zum Kassenschlager machen. Also eine leichte Übung für Regisseur Marcus Nispel.
The mandate in Friday the 13th is to come up with innovative kills. And of course, we don't want to, make them what we call torture porn. It gotta be fun also. It's a tough thing to pull off. The other complicated thing with those kills is that they have to happen fairly quickly. We do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. If you just look at the first 20 minutes of the movie, a lot goes on there. So we kind of added a new aspect to Jason, thinking of him as a hunter, a guy that has an underground maze of tunnels, maybe from an old mine, that allow him to show up at different places very, very fast. It's also briskness, a new briskness to it. He's not just like the lumbering guy in a FedEx uniform,
You see him this time setting people up. There's a thought behind each movement that he does. He's not just an unstoppable killing machine that, like a shark that aims in a direction and goes. And I think that, in my opinion, that makes it a little more scary than normal. The thing is that he's so angry about what happened to his mother, and he blames you for it, that he's so passionate. There's nothing that's gonna stop him from, destroying you and getting his revenge. And that's, you don't want to be on the train tracks when the Jason train comes through.
To scare the hell out of people, it's more about what you don't do than what you do. You want to be quiet before it happens. You don't want to advertise what's about to happen. Maybe do a fake scare before so the guard goes down and then go in for the big kill. It's definitely an alchemy.
Kein Slasher-Film wäre komplett ohne die obligatorischen Blutbäder und Spezialeffekte.
Whitney!
Daran hatten die Schauspieler natürlich besonders viel Spaß.
Stage 3 dead.
Stage 3 of death.
Rigor mortis.
I've been done now.
It's always funny to see, our friend Arlen walking around with a machete or an axe through his chest, you know what I mean? So it's cool to be on set and see how they create all the pieces and all the intricacies that go into that. But there's definitely a lot of blood and gore, and it's creepy.
I try and use it, Like I try and use the energy of the set and of the wardrobe and the costumes, and even there's a big climactic fight scene at the end where they had to create rain for it, and so it was kind of cold and dark, but and I'm in like tight designer type jeans and like cool like riding boots, and then they're like dousing you down with water and mud and sand, and you're like, oh, I don't want to. All right, use it.
Doesn't matter how it feels, it matters how it looks.
You have to put your mind somewhere else. I mean, when you have in the film, from my navel up to my head, I'm wearing a full body prosthetic to give like a small spinal deformity. I have a small little hump on one side. We shot in the summer time in Austin, Texas, and it became very hot there. So when you're wearing that prosthetic and also you have like a winter coat on top of it, after about the first week into it, your skin becomes very irritated and rashy. So any type of movement, it becomes pretty painful. You can use that irritation and pain for the character, to help you kind of get into the amp situations. What's the adage they say? It's pain is temporary, film is forever.
Marcus Nispel ist bekannt dafür, einfach alles zu geben. Und das erwartete er auch von seinen Schauspielern.
Start running sooner.
Aber sie haben es alle überlebt.
He's an eccentric guy. I think, also because it was such a short period of time to shoot this, he was under the gun with the schedule. And, I think there was one day when we were sitting around the campfire and he started rolling cameras and our stand-ins were still sitting there. And it was like he just wanted to go.
Jason!
Which isn't a bad thing. It's, he's under a lot of pressure to get his days done. And if you don't get it in your allotted time, you got problems.
You really got to show me fear in this one, okay?
It's very kind of frenetic and frantic and crazy, and it sort of works because I know there was a lot of stuff we were shooting in the woods where we're like running there and running back and running from Jason and then running to Jason, and it's sort of, he kind of like keep the cameras rolling and sort of let things happen. And as an actor, at least the style of acting I'm used to, sort of used to like preparing, like getting ready and sort of going, okay, what is this shot? Like, what are we doing? Let me set my head straight and then let me shoot. But with him, it was kind of like, all right, get over there. And seeing, like, one day, I remember we showed up to set one day and there were like 5 scenes on the call sheet. We didn't shoot a single one of those scenes, but we shot like 3 other scenes that weren't even on the call sheet. And I was like, I like to prepare, like what's going on here.
There's no gun, no keys. Come on.
Maybe it kind of worked because the idea is that we're kind of out of our element and frantic and scared and kind of like, I don't have a grasp of what's going on around me. And maybe that's sort of, I'm not a method actor and I've never really worked with a method director, but maybe that's what he was doing and kind of putting us in a situation where we didn't feel at ease.
Put your face really down. Hunch over it, put your face down and call Jason.
Marcus would be extremely passionate about whatever he wanted to do. He was almost like a boy at Christmas, where he'd be like, Derek, for the scene, what you going to do? You're stalking her. She does not see you, but you're coming around and you feel the emotion. She killed, this is the person who killed your mother. You're going to blame her. Take out your vengeance on her like this. And it's really a lot of fun. It's hard, because he's so passionate about it. I was like, I don't want to laugh, but I understand.
Schon bald wird sich Jason aller seiner Opfer mehr oder weniger elegant entledigt haben. Dieses Remake des Kultstreifens Freitag der 13. hat das Zeug, sich seinen Weg in die Herzen der Horrorfans zu ebnen.
This movie has some really creative, horrific, grotesque kills that I think will reward the audience that's looking for that.
It gives you what you want from a horror film. It gives you the scares. It gives you the intense violence. It gives you the drugs. It gives you the boobies.
Let's do it! Yeah!
It's not just slasher gore. It's not just blood everywhere. There's moments where it's not the blood that makes you jump. It's the mislead. It's something that jumps out at you.
Look, there's enough horror going on in this world. You don't want to make a horror movie where people feel it just contributes to the misery, but if anything, serves people like a roller coaster ride. And you can enjoy it, scream your, lungs out and say, let's do it again.
Jason!
I know movies that I grew up watching that I watched over and over again, and it was like, hey, we're going to have a sleepover. Like throw in Friday the 13th or like Nightmare on Elm Street or Jaws or something, and let's kind of like get kooky and scary and turn off the lights. And I hope we do that. I hope we can plug in and just have people go like, I want to see that over and over and over again. We need to be a part of.
Hey Chewie, bist du da drin? Polizei, aufmachen! Hilfe! Dieser Kerl tötet sie alle!
Was tust du denn da, Nolan?
Oh Gott! Hilfe!
Jason!
Freitag, der 13.